One of the useful things that Robinhood has is a thing called trading trends, and it shows the trading activity of the internal Robinhood customers like you and me, hedge funds, which have a lot of money at one time buying and selling stock, and also insiders like CEOs and directors buying and selling their own stock. Gives you some more insight into how a stock's performance is doing and maybe going to be performing in the near future. And it gives you some more, it basically gives you a better idea of retail customer sentiment, what the hedge funds think of the stock, and what the insiders think of the stock. So not all of these stocks have this. Only the popular stocks do. But right now we're looking at NOW, which is ServiceNow. And if you scroll down, we have a section called Trading Trends. And so you can look at what the net buy and net sell of Robinhood customers have been since, I'm holding my finger down here on the app, March 24th. So lots of Robinhood customers overall buying this stock recently. Looking at hedge funds, overall we see mostly red, especially more recently, at 68% sell. And it tells you the percentage and the shares that were bought and sold. And we have insiders, huge buy in February. And there's a little detail below it. April 2026, 27 insiders bought a total of 242,000 shares of Now in the last 3 months. This is not investment advice, but you can go even further. You can click on either this little double arrow, or you can click on view details right there. And what that does is you expand that. And let's look at the same thing again. We have Robinhood, net buy, net sell, and then we have the price of the stock below it. So if you hold your finger down, you can see the exact price of the stock. So back in March, we were, let's say the end of March, around $105. We dipped on April 10th to $83, starting to rise back up a bit. And you can see overall retail investors are mostly buying this, but let's look at hedge funds. And you can look at what they've been buying, what they've been selling, at what price did they buy and sell. So these are the pros using big money to do this. So it would be interesting if you pick a stock, your favorite stock, and take a look at and see when do they make big buys and sells. So they bought at the local peak here and started to sell once it started to drop, and now we're really selling, especially today. And you can scroll down, you can look at the hedge fund name, and if you scroll this, we have activity, buy, sell, all that stuff. We have shares, percent change, total shares, market value, date. And if you need to take a peek at that name again, you just tap on the left, look at those names, okay, and then tap again. And then you can also sort by whatever you want. Total shares, percent change, things like that. So that shows you all of the hedge funds that have been buying and selling this stock. And let's scroll up, let's look at insiders. This is the most interesting one to me. As the share price has been going down over time, again, another huge buy in February, like we saw before. And we see the insiders, like the CEO, president, different presidents and directors. So if you click on their names again, so we can go back to that chart, activity, uninformative buy, and uninformative sell. These aren't too interesting because some of these are automatically buying and selling. Some of them, especially for director level and above, some of their compensation is tied to stocks. So the company says, hey, here's some free stock, or here's some stock at a discount. And then you can take those shares and turn around and sell them off for some extra cash if you receive those shares as part of your compensation. Or you can hold on to them or do whatever you want with them. So uninformative buys and sells, sometimes they do that automatically. Sometimes it's part of their packages of compensation. But then we get to informative sells and buys. For example, Lawrence Jackson, informative sell, sold shares on the open market, 265 shares for a couple $100,000, and then it tells you the date as well. So this is really interesting. You can get really individualized here by sorting by the insider. What's the president doing? What is the director doing? And you can get really nosy into who is doing what, and because they're at a certain level and above in the company, they're required to file things with the SEC, so then everything's above board, and it's a public company, of course. And so this gives you really deep insight into what's going on here inside the company. So if you see a lot of informative sells from the people directing the company who have the most intimate knowledge of the company, probably a bad sign, and the stock will likely go down. The opposite is true. If they're buying up a bunch of shares, then maybe that's a good outlook for the company, and they have something down the pipeline that is going to be big, and they think that it's going to be a good thing for the company, and the price would go up. So it's a nice way to gain some deep insight into the internal workings of a company and get an idea of where the stock price might move in the future. So if you like this kind of content, please give me a like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.